Hello everybody out there in YouTube world. This is part 2 of the video. Are you consciously unconscious? Are you consciously unconscious? Let's take a look at what that looks like and what I mean, since in the first video, and you can check that out, I purposely ran with more norepinephrine and not a great deal of GABA so I could really shoot it out there and maybe off balance a few people. Right now, let's look at, are you consciously unconscious in a calm, managed way so that we can figure out what's going on that could make somebody who wants to be conscious somehow mildly or even sometimes severely unconscious around things that might matter to them. What causes it? What's the trouble? What's the danger? How can it be remedied? What are possible remedies that might be looked at? And again, re-examining, for those who didn't watch the first video, what I even mean with the concept of consciousness and consciously unconscious. Okay, so here we go. First of all, our terms. What is consciousness? Consciousness is one's tendency to be aware, to be perceiving and gathering data, to have information that one knows to be relevant or potentially relevant, that allows one to be able to manage their life and manage decision making and plans and execute those plans, because without consciousness, we don't have data and awareness that allows us to live our lives properly, make good decisions, execute our relationships, and execute in the one sense of carry out our relationships, obviously. Even execute them if we need to end them. And so we can end the relationship because we're conscious so that it doesn't work for us, which is a bit of humor. But clearly, then there is a purpose to being conscious. So why would someone be consciously unconscious? That means they're almost choosing it, right? That they're somehow wanting to be unconscious on purpose because it's somehow an easier way to deal with reality for them than being fully conscious and deal with everything. Let's take the end of that just before we go into the other details I mentioned up front about how to solve the problem and what to look at, how to possibly remedy it. What does it mean when I say fully conscious? That's hard. That's why the last video mucked things up on purpose, because being fully conscious would almost make you go insane, because you'd have so much data coming at you that you literally could not manage to focus on it all at once. That's why full consciousness is so troublesome, and approaching full consciousness is so troublesome and so dangerous. So I'm not saying being fully conscious is the answer, because if you're doing a pull down, you can feel your hands, you can feel your feet, you can hear the music you can think about you can think about everything behind you, and you can think about what's going on in the clock in the room and the clicking. That would drive you insane. So I'm not talking about full consciousness. Yet clearly we choose. Our brain naturally has a way to prioritize. There's terms for that. We can talk about in the third video if we want to. How the body manages to siphon out certain things that are relevant to us and then stick to those things enough we can get outcomes, because otherwise we'd be schizophrenic in our minds with potentially every bit of data. Again, if you're listening to this video and you can't stop hearing the dog bark in the background, or hear the clock tick on the wall, or you can hear your stomach rumbling, and it's all you can sense, it's very hard to learn. That's too much consciousness coming at you. But it's relevant information, that's good information, and that's consciousness. So we're not going to go into full consciousness. That may be a third video. We're going to, are you consciously unconscious in a way that's, in this case, holding you back and also troublesome because you can't get that data because there's some factor in your life holding you back from a higher form of consciousness that could serve you. You see how calm this video has to be? Because it's pretty complex conversation at this point. Let's go into what it is with conscious again. You have to be aware, have information coming at you that's relevant or potentially relevant. You have to sift through that to get, again, outcomes like I mentioned in the first video. Manage the outcomes, and then manage the outcome from that outcome to make another plan. Again, carrying out plans, executing plans, and getting results, and then making the next set of plans. That's where conscious comes in. So I'm talking about how to get an INTJ, INTF, ENEF, any kind of converse that wants to get outcomes. You can even be making people happy. So any other personality of the Briggs-Myers personality test can still pay off watching this video, but those who want to get outcomes specifically around fitness, that's why I'm focused on this kind of a video, because they tend to be results-oriented people, type A-oriented people a lot of the time. Okay, so now, back to the concept. We have consciousness defined. What does it mean to be kind of purposefully having to manage through streams of conscious, streams of information, and then have to pick stuff out that makes relevant sense to your life, that gives you a better outcome. What is helping you do that, and what's holding you back? One of the number one thing is going to be neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. If you have a high level of glutamate in your brain, and you tend to, from that glutamate, be a little schizophrenic, and you tend to have lots of norepinephrine and epinephrine, and you're running so hot like you had a cup of coffee, going at you, driving you, but you can't slow down enough with the gear shifter in your brain and the singular gyrus and such to shift gears to then go, oh, my GABA keeps me calm and gives me flow state, so I can give and take in a relationship, and I can listen as well as talk, and I can be involved in one task but still hear the baby cry, still hear the dog whine, got to go outside to go to the bathroom, or still hear the fact that my calf is hurting when I'm running, as opposed to I'm driving to the finish line. That might be fine, but if you're going, uh-oh, my calf's getting in trouble, you might want to, or your foot's rubbing, you keep ignoring it, and you got a blister now at the end of the marathon. Not going to do a marathon anyhow, but let's take a look. People do ignore pains and ignore suffering and ignore things because it seems to be in the way. When you can't be in flow state, that to me is when you are already making a mistake. It's okay to be driving. It's okay to be high glutamate. It's okay to be high norepinephrine and high epinephrine. But if you don't have enough GABA to stay calm and to sense things out, and you're only dopamine and you're task-oriented, and you're only norepinephrine and you're task-oriented, you might miss some things because you're not listening fully. So it's one neurotransmitter. And you can look up serotonin, dopamine. They're on my webpage under Better Results Personal Training. And they're also on Facebook under Better Results Personal Training. So you can check those out. And you can look dopamine, you can look up serotonin, you can look up GABA, and you can see all those things. Or you can just go to your websites and you can do your own web search. I think my sites get the basics, and so I recommend that. But go anywhere you want. Next point, besides neurotransmitters, there are chakras that are involved. People have dominant plexi in their body. There's 7 plexi described by chiropractors and neurologists, and we know that there's one in the brain, there's the one in the lower face here, in the lower primal brain, if you will. There's one in the voice box area here, that would be like the thyroid one, and you tend to go like the violet, the indigo, the blue, the green, the yellow, the orange, and the red. The red being the pelvic floor, the root chakra, the orange one being the sexual center, the power center, the yellow one being the sensory apparatus that helps, it's kind of a kidney adrenal, a little bit of the liver is in there, a little bit of the pancreas in there, a lot of sensory organs. The vagus nerve runs into all these things. The vagus comes on both sides of the brain from the 10 cranial nerves. The 10th one is called the pneumogastro nerve. The pneumogastro nerve has 2 branches, and they're independent, and they communicate with every organ gland in your body except for the adrenals. And they hit that yellow, orange, and red zone really hard, and pay attention to that. They also, of course, hit the airways and the heart, and they manage all these things for parasympathetic and sympathetic function. And if your parasympathetic and sympathetic functions off in the vagus nerve, or your chakras are off, any one of those things can cause you to be lost when it comes to dealing with information that is consciousness coming at you, can be blocked or be weaker. Let's make exact, precise examples of that. If I have a vagus nerve that's running and it's strong, but my yellow zone is weak and my adrenals are weak and I'm scared easily, I might not look at things that are scary. Or I might be overly sensitive to things that are scary, and that's all I can sense is things that are terrifying me and are frightening me and are scary and giving me anxiety. And all I can feel is anxiety and fear. Calming the yellow zone can help. Cooling it off. Meditation, breathing, because breathing goes into the lower lung, which hits 10, 11, 12, which hits the kidney adrenal zone. Again, lower lung, 10, 11, 12. If you can slow down and breathe, and many people with anxiety slow down and breathe, they get better. Why is that? Because their yellow zone is getting better, because they're taking time to breathe and free up their lower lung, and they're breathing into their lower back. Breathe into your lower back. When you breathe into your lower back, like the Asians can, they practice breathing into their lower back. Their culture believes in that. And they cool their kidney circuit and take away a lot of their back pain. So breathing into your lower back can take away back pain, take away anxiety, cool the adrenals, cool the kidney adrenal, and feel much more rooted in the kidney adrenal, and therefore less anxious, less trouble, less fear based. Other fear can come from not having a root chakra. That's the red zone. Or having a violated sense of self from having sexual child abuse or sexual abuse somewhere else in your life. And that's disaffected your orange zone or your red zone or a combination. And of course, it almost always disaffects the yellow zone. But for some people, it strengthens the yellow zone because they had to get so tough. Think about it. Can abuse somehow make you tough? Yeah. You get robbed in your lower chakra, your lower two chakras, you're certainly going to have to deal with a lot more stress. And you learn to deal with stress because it actually built your yellow zone stronger because you were getting robbed in the first two. So anybody who didn't have a safe home environment and didn't have a strong root growing up might have a really good yellow chakra, even though they never really got the red chakra. And their roots to their family doesn't feel secure. Or the roots to their self might feel a little violated because they never really got looked after in themselves and they had to struggle and scrap about. Give them a strong yellow circuit. Again, that's 10, 11, 12 in the vertebral of the thoracic zone. The lumbar zone, 1, 2, 3, is going to be the orange zone almost down to 4. Some could argue 5 can come into there. That's the lumbar vertebrae, that's the orange zone. The red zone being L4, L5, S1, and S all the way down to S5. The sacral zone is really red. You could argue that the whole lumbar zone could be orange. But I tend to see those blends. It doesn't go hard yellow to hard orange to hard red. There's like the blending of these. That's just the lower body. Most trainers never begin to investigate emotional, psychic, or even past childhood or early trauma, or even current trauma in those areas. Therefore, they're running around thinking, oh, you got a problem with your squat today, or you got a problem with this. It might be something bothering them at work, in their home relationships, in their relationship with someone else, with their best friendship, or they're worried about their dog because their dog is now sick, or they're worried about their dog is acting funny and they're wondering if their dog is okay. And they can affect their entire lower chakra, plus their green zone, because they're so concerned about their dog, or they're concerned about their best friend. These things will affect your bench press. These things will affect your exercise routine. So your consciousness can be pulled from your workout into things from your life because it's driving your soma, which is your body, your soma, into awareness around things that you're holding on to because your mind is thinking of those things at the front of the head or in the subconscious mind in the back of your head. And you're being affected by the things that you're sensing, that you've already dreamt about, imagined about, feared about, planned about, schemed about. You know, when you're scheming by the fire and if you wait for the New Year's to make your resolution, or if you resolve on a single day to do anything, it begins to go into your chakra zone and create locks to say, I want to achieve this. And anything that doesn't feel certain begins to send feedback back up because there's afferent and efferent nerves sending things back and forth. And it says, I'm not sure I can do this yet. I might need some help. And that's where, now we're talking about neurotransmitters, and we talked about chakras, we talked about chakra zones. Didn't go into the top ones, because most of them are down here. Heart, kidney, adrenal, intestine, and pelvic floor root energy. But the next thing, supplements. Supplements and nutrition can help remedy chakra issues. There's a whole bunch of remedies for kidney adrenal issues. You can go look for kidney adrenal tonics, kidney adrenal teas. You can take ashwagandha, just some small amount, not too much. You can use maca for a pelvic floor. You can use probiotics to help the gut. And there's many good probiotics. And you have to find the ones that work for you. And some go, obviously acidophilus is acidophilus. But there are so many bacteria in the bowel section and things like that. And there's L. reuteri and there's bifidus cultures. And you've got to get all these, KCI, and there's all these different probiotics that are supposed to be in your body that are helping you manage your peristalsis and your wellness, that affect your serotonin production, your GABA production, and your mood and your cognition, your craving. If you haven't studied gut microbiome, definitely go to my page on Better Results Portraying on Facebook. If you scroll down, you type in the top of the search bar, gut health, you'll find something that got up to 50 studies all written in there. And you can find those studies. And you'll find that you can read about it affects even mental illness can come from definable. Man, who's mentally ill, right? Who's not? But you can find that you'd be definably